am concerned about
fixing the structures and the systemic racism that is embedded in
the fact of the matter is we don't have to agree on the fact that the rule definition of systemic.
Go up and tell him.
Yeah.
Go tell him.
Tell him from the mountain.
We have to go to commercial. We'll come down.
I think y'all have commercial breaks for what I thought was the right issue as it relates to our young kids and what they're being indoctrinated with. I thought he started off on the right foot on that issue. It is 100%.
No, not here. I'm sorry, sir. Do not boo.
Today's video delves further into one of the most talked about occurrences on political television lately. Senator Tim Scott and co-host Sunny Hostin engaged in a heated debate about their points of view. What began as a conversation about institutional racism quickly deteriorated into a passionate argument over personal achievement, racial disparities, and media manipulation. Senator Scott came prepared, answering arguments with facts and keeping calm despite multiple interruptions. As a result, the segment was forceful and memorable, with some seeing it as a great example of standing steadfast under hardship. Let's take a look at what happened and why Tim Scott has received so much appreciation for how he handled it.
And to you is, I'm the exception, right? You're the exception. Maybe even Miss Whoopi Goldberg is the exception. But we are not the rule. And so when it comes to racial inequality, it persists in 5 core aspects of life in the U.S. Economics, education, healthcare, criminal justice, and housing. At nearly every turn, these achievements were fought, threatened, and erased, most often by white violence. You have indicated that you don't believe in systemic.
Sunny Hostin brought up Senator Scott's stance on systemic racism, which prompted the conversation. She openly criticized him, stating that he was downplaying the real challenges that many minorities confront in America. She observed considerable disparities in education, healthcare, criminal justice, housing, and the economy, implying that these are indicative of long-term structural difficulties. She commended Scott's accomplishments, but remarked that they were unique and not something that others could easily achieve. Her message was simple: we cannot assess progress based solely on a few success stories. She urged for further change, stating that the system itself required repair. But Tim Scott wasn't about to let that message go unchallenged.
My life is the exception. I can't imagine. But it's not actually. It's
been 114 years.
Yeah. So the fact of the matter is, we've had an African American president, African American vice president. We've had 2 African Americans to be secretaries of the state. There is about 15% employment in the African American community for the first time in the history of the country. It's under 5%.
40% homelessness.
And 50%
of African Americans.
50% of the folks in our community.
Yet 13% of the population.
One of the things I think about, and one of the reasons why I'm on the show, is because of the comments that were made, frankly, on this show, that the only way for a young African American kid to be successful in this country is to be the exception and not the rule. That is a dangerous, offensive, disgusting message to send to our young people today, that the only way to succeed is by being the exception. Is because I believe that education is the closest thing to magic in America. So I'm about making sure that our kids have as many opportunities to succeed as possible.
Senator Scott did not mince words when it came to challenging the assumption that success for African Americans is exceptional or special. He thought such an approach was harmful, especially to young people, since it conveys the wrong message and lowers expectations. According to Scott, this kind of thinking holds communities back rather than moving them forward. He used real-world examples such as African Americans' record low unemployment rates to demonstrate that success is more common than many people imagine. Drawing on his own experiences, he underlined the importance of education, portraying it as the key to unlocking doors of opportunity. His core message focused on empowerment rather than victimhood. However, the conversation did not take place on a level playing field. Scott was often cut off, had commercial interruptions at vital moments, and even faced resistance from the audience, which was brimming with boos. Co-host Whoopi Goldberg frequently interrupted him, and many viewers thought the show's structure was working against him by not giving his perspective a fair hearing.
Because I have to go to break. They're
we have more time, though.
They're big. They're coming.
Coming back.
I'm just getting started.
I know.
I believe all people can. We will fulfill the notion that this is the nation that can become more perfect. And what I am concerned about
fixing the structures and the systemic racism that is embedded in
the fact of the matter is that we don't have to agree. We don't have to agree on the fact that your definition of systemic.
Go up and tell him. Go tell him.
Tell it from the mountain.
We have to go to commercial. We'll come back. You're gonna.
You guys are out. I think y'all have terrific.
Despite the interruptions and tensions, Scott remained composed. He expressed his views calmly and with great grace under pressure. Many people saw his demeanor as a superb example of staying strong in a tough situation. Critics were not just interested in the content of the conversation. They were also displeased with how the situation was handled. Some said that Sunny Hostin's confrontation with Scott was unsuitable for free speech. It was more about shutting down his perspective. Her arguments were presented as if they were undeniable truths, leaving little room for serious discussion, with an audience anxious to confront Scott. Regardless of what he said, the whole segment seemed like a one-sided debate rather than a meaningful conversation.
The matter is that when you look at progress in the Senate, especially from the Republican side, African-American chiefs of staff on the Republican side, the only African-American female chief of staff was mine. The current only Hispanic chief of staff, who happens to be female, is mine. When you look at the fact that when I helped to rewrite the tax code in 2017, I focused on my growing up experience, which was a single mother. I cut her taxes, single mothers like mine, average income around $40,000 by 73%.
Cameras saw Whoopi Goldberg comforting Sunny Hostin, a watershed moment that revealed how emotionally charged things had gotten, while also confirming what many skeptics had been saying for years. The View is not known for conducting fair discussions, especially when conservative voices are present. This incident reminded viewers of past visits by guests like Bill O'Reilly and Donald Trump Jr., when the mood was similarly tense and antagonistic. According to some critics, the show has evolved into a venue that primarily caters to progressive perspectives, especially among its target audience of middle-aged suburban women.
For what I thought was the right issue as it relates to our young kids and what they're being indoctrinated with. I thought he started off on the right foot on that issue.
No, not here. I'm sorry, sir. Do not boo.
That tendency was evident during Tim Scott's appearance. The panel seemed unprepared for a conservative speaker, especially a black senator who speaks with confidence, clarity, and facts. Scott, who is frequently mischaracterized as just following Trump's lead, broke that caricature with his calm, attentive, and well-prepared manner. He didn't just stand his ground. He challenged the assumptions made against him, leaving the panel at a loss for words. This was not just another TV interview. It was a stunning moment that showed the vast contrasts in today's political arguments, as well as how difficult it can be to have a meaningful conversation in such a biased climate. For Scott, it was also a watershed moment. His steady tone, strong command of the facts, and ability to stay cool under duress boosted his appeal among conservative voters. For many who watched, it appeared to be a harbinger of a potential future. Campaign for higher office, perhaps even as a vice presidential candidate. So what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you don't want to miss out on the hottest celebrity news, make sure to subscribe to Daily Finder.